Hello, welcome to Crossy's Corner. Good afternoon, good morning, good evening, wherever you're watching this viewing for. I have with us, the amazing Kaspar Taimsoo, stroke of the Estonian quad, Olympic bronze medalist, lots of other things on his CV, which we're going to get into. Kaspar, it's great to have you on Crossy's Corner today.
Well, thank you for having me.
Yeah, brilliant. Just before we get going, I'd just like to say that Crossy's Corner, as you probably know now, is supported by Ludum, the performance management and performance analysis tool for sports coaches and training groups. And if you'd like, you can try a 30-day free trial by visiting ludum.com. So that's Ludum out of the way. Kaspar, tell me about your day today. You've had a vaccination, I gather.
Oh, yes, I did have my first injection yesterday. So luckily, not too bad. A bit of heavy sleep, but overall, managing so far, so good.
And this is a bit of a light week for you, I know.
It is, yeah. We had a pretty strong, few weeks leading from the European Championships all the way up to the Olympic qualification. So we did 3 races basically in a row, and so we're trying to recompose ourselves and take some time to make sure that we're on the right track, and recheck that everything is still as it should be.
What do you do when you're not rowing? Your time off. What have you been doing this week? What's the sort of things that you're into, Kaspar?
Well, if it comes to this year, this is pretty much the second week I'm home overall. so I don't know if it's correct to say that what I do on my free evenings, but I think the mental release for any athlete is very important, isn't it?
Yeah.
So I'm definitely. I like to watch movies a lot. I of course listen to music. I have a pretty big balcony where I have some plants that are growing, and also of course, as a guy from the late 80s nowadays, has to play some video games occasionally as well. So
yeah.
So I do a fair bit of those as well, to be honest. Yeah.
Yeah. Now, I mean, obviously, some downtime after that Olympic qualification regatta that you've just experienced last weekend, and everybody was talking about the pressure, the intensity of that competition. It was the second time I think you've been in the Olympic qualification regatta. But what was it like for you? How did you experience it?
Well, of course, it was the first major milestone for the year. So if you don't qualify for the Olympics, then there is no Olympics, isn't it? So I think it wasn't as much pressure for me because I was fairly confident that we will do well.
Really?
I think I don't know the term in English, but kind of weight off your shoulders kind of thing.
Yeah,
after the European Championships, we battled. Of course, we medaled, so which is always nice. But we had a fierce battle for the 4th and not so far off from the 2nd place as well. So that was kind of first sign that okay, everything has been pretty good. Before that, as everybody, we used to race the clock, right? And it's about your internal kind of feel of the boat, how it's all syncing together. And the World Cup as well, of course, it was my first World Cup win, but
no, really,
yeah, really. And so it, there to me there was no point of being worried. If we don't mess this thing up ourselves, then we should be okay.
Yeah. So, could you feel the tension around other people or other crews? What was the atmosphere like?
Atmosphere was, the cool thing with the Olympic qualification regatta was that it suddenly got very compact, isn't it?
Yeah.
Right after our heat, we heard from the ground or from the shore that the replicate charges might be today, and then I was like 100% sure that we will qualify, because Russians won the other heat.
Yeah.
So they had a free afternoon as well, and all the other crews had to race, and the results were like very, very close. It was a very fierce battle. I think the most of the boats were within 2 seconds at the 1,000-meter mark, so that's like not too far off, and pretty close at 1,500 as well. So I just knew that well, I didn't knew, but I was pretty confident going into the final that we can hold our own.
Yeah, that's a useful quality to have in the stroke man of a crew, and of course you're very experienced in that. What was that race like with the Russians? Because I gather you didn't know that you'd won that race until after you'd got off the water and you were on the medal podium.
Yeah, well, we came off the water. I was asked for an interview. I gave my interview, and I was like, I thought that we were second, right? So I gave my interview like, at least we got that done. Now it's time to refocus on the Olympics, and it wasn't a bad race, but had a cool battle with the Russian crew, and etc. But when we were lined up for the medals, and my teammates whispered, "Yo, we won," I was like, "What? Really? How?" But I haven't seen the footage from it, but a friend from Estonia sent us the they actually filmed the TV screen, right, from the final 100 meters, and we were like all the time just a bit behind, and when the camera is at the 90 degrees, we were just like that for one stroke.
Yeah.
So so that was like very, very close. Yeah, but
so your crew has been like a revelation this season. I think in the way that you scull, the smoothness, the fluidity, the way you move together as a unit. But it wasn't like that at the last World Championships, or it wasn't as good as that in 2019, because you didn't qualify, you finished 12th. And what I'm interested in is what reasons there might be for that change.
I think in rowing there's always like two sides, isn't it? So one side is kind of what coach thinks or suggests, or is suggesting that you should do in the boat.
Yeah.
And on the other side, it's the rowers inside the boat that have to feel, is it working or not? So it used to be kind of a mixed bag, I think. But now with our new coach Veiko Sinisalo, it's been pretty great. We have the same understanding, like me personally, with him, like how rowing should be done, and I really enjoy that. And everybody has picked everything up very nicely. So we used to be kind of a rough working guys as well.
Yeah.
But it wasn't as much enjoyable, and now it's we try to be smooth, very clean, keep it precise all the way through, and it's a technical sport. So in the end, you're trying to basically not work against you, right? You don't want to make a big splash on both ends. You're trying to keep the run nice and clean. So I think right now what has happened is that everything is syncing together very nicely. Coach is happy, we're happy, and that's a good setup for the season.
Your coach Veiko comes from Finland. Why did you choose him in particular, or how did he get to be your coach? Guy from Finland.
Well, I think also after the Rio Olympics. And from 2017, it was okay year as well, but 2018 and 19 they weren't too great for us. But in sports that's to be expected as well, because it's you cannot be, if you're not like a miracle kind of crew, you cannot be on top all the time, 4, 3, 5, 6 years in a row. kind of. So we had our like kind of downwards trend on everything, our own physical form, our I would say what is it now, like the emotional state of the guys as well was in a downwards trend. So something needed to happen, and from our governing association, from their side as well, they were unsatisfied with the results, because we get paid by the results, so we are forced to like.
Oh, really?
We are forced to like basically medal like every other year basically, so we could keep our financial like kind of state. So the tension was internally, it was really high, and it just kind of exploded after the 2019, and I think
we finished 12th.
We finished 12th, yeah, and we didn't qualify, and then our association also they found a guy. So it wasn't like the athletes pick. We didn't have a pool because Estonian rowing is a very small sport financially. So everything is kind of we're trying to cost optimize or cost effective everything basically.
Yeah.
So luckily Veiko was agreed, and they found a salary for him. So it's been working out so far, and I hope he continues as well.
Wow. Tell me something about rowing in Estonia, because one of the guys I row with, I know you're not so good on names, but Johnny Searle, he's Olympic gold medalist from Barcelona, but he was fascinated into how a nation with just 1 million people can produce rowers that good. I mean, how many people rowing do you have in Estonia? And how do they get into the system? Is it through clubs or schools?
We have rowing is available in the 5 cities of Estonia, and total of 7 rowing clubs, and the active portion of athletes, including the junior level, I think it's around 350 to 400 or so.
Wow.
So it's a pretty small pool to pick from.
Yeah.
But I think this is also our strength, I believe.
Why?
Because everybody, to some degree, are training the same way. If I tell you, if you and I were to go out to world rowing venue and look at the crew, you could tell Canadian lightweights, isn't it?
Yeah.
So you get what I'm trying to say. So everybody is kind of training this through the same basic rules. So it's easier to combine bigger boats as well.
Oh, I see. How many guys?
I think.
You think how many guys do you have in the national team currently? Is there just the 4 of you?
No, we had a pool of 8 guys throughout the winter and early spring as well. They've been kind of dribbling off one by one. Depends on how the performance is. And right now the pool isn't too big, but we're looking. They might rebound for the world champs, as they didn't qualify for the boats that are that were aiming for the European Championships or the Olympic Final Qualification Regatta.
Yeah.
So they've been taking some time off, recomposing themselves, and probably, I hope some of them will rebound for the World Championships later this year.
Oh, that'll be good. And did your coach, when he came in, Veiko, did he change the training program at all? Did you start doing different kinds of work?
Yeah, that's we had he met with every at the time current athlete at the team one by one, and the thing that calmed me down mostly was that he said he's not gonna reinvent the wheel kind of.
Yeah.
Rowing is still rowing kind of thing. So we have had overall training program has had quite a significant overhaul for sure.
Yeah.
But just let's say we've been rather adjusting than changing everything.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Yeah, it does. I was kind
All
of
right.
interested. What does a week of training look for you like? Where you come off the winter and you're starting to do some pieces. I mean, are you mainly doing a lot of UT2 work? Do you put some UT1 intervals in? What kind of training program do you have?
Yeah, well, of course, one thing that definitely changed is that our trainings are now way more modular than they used to be.
Yeah.
Yeah, before the gym session, we go underwater as well, and after there is like a cool down, basically of things you can choose from as well. You can go jogging or cycling or even light rowing if you want, or so take it easy kind of. So we have, in some sense, we have more freedom. We've been trying to balance, because quads is kind of heavy on the body all the time.
Why?
So as we have been doing this for so long, rowing kind of with an average pace or average mindset while you are on the water, I think it has no benefit overall. I think it can do more harm. So we've been doing like recovery sessions with the bicycle or with bike erg, or even erg sometimes, but just to have that personal time for each rower to get those how do you say it, like the recovery portion going very well.
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
So if quad is really hard to like over exaggerate in a thing, or in a sense that it needs fast legs whatever you do in it, basically.
Yeah.
So it's not a recovery in basic. So we're just trying to balance that point as well. So that has changed. We used to do quad loads more, but overall training loads have remained the same. Just the structure of the week is a little bit different.
What's the secret to great quad sculling? I mean, your quad, I could remember you in that World Cup in Zagreb. You next to the poles, and you look so smooth and so relaxed and so fluid.
I will tell you after the Olympics.
What are you trying?
No, I mean, yeah, go on.
What are you trying to do in the stroke seat? How are you?
We have, of course, in the stroke seat, what I think that the stroke seat has to do is optimize.
Yeah.
It needs to, you can build you can feel the tension building up inside the boat while racing. Guys are starting to shout more, trying to be like more lively. But there are times when you need to be like, okay, this is, good rhythm for us. This is the good pace. We're doing fine. Like, let's hold ourselves. And at other times, at Tõnu, and my number 3 seat is a very good asset. Just on the other side of the spectrum, when he says that we need to go, then we go. but because he has even more experience than I am, he's like over 40 now as well. So it's about finding the balance in everything, I believe. How much can you push the pieces? How can you do steady state rowing? How can you manage? At least I try to manage, emotions as well. Try to listen to everybody, just picking the best ideas that we have on the water, trying to make those work overall. And each guy plays a key role, that's for sure. But I would say, as a strokeman, you need to be kind of sometimes the, is it the right to call it decisive factor, or sometimes you need to be the X, say, okay, that's not going to work, we're not going to do it, don't bother with that anymore. And sometimes, okay, we will look more into that.
Yeah. You mentioned Tõnu there, Tõnu Hendrickson, who is a legend, I guess, in rowing, Estonian rowing, and sculled in a double with the equally legendary, the great Yuri Jansen. What's Tõnu like to row with?
He's he's like I don't know the term for in feet, but I think like 6'5" or 6'6" even.
Whoa!
It's like 198 centimeters of a really big, heavy guy. But he has a certain aura around him that he doesn't speak too much sometimes, but when he does, then it's rather very good, or we're all messed up something. So but I think he's like the very great kind of, if Tõnu is cool, everything is cool, basically.
Wow.
Because he has this certain aura, and he's that's following him everywhere.
Yeah. And what about Alaraja, your crewmate? Because he's older than you as well, isn't he? 37 years of age.
Mm-hmm.
And
speaking of that, I think we have one of the oldest crews out in the field right now.
You do.
We do, yeah.
Does that bother you?
No. Why? I mean, but when it comes to Allar, with Allar, we had my first really great season in international rowing back in 2009.
For Poznan.
When we started in Poznan, exactly. I tried that the same year. I tried under 23s as well with the single. I think I didn't qualify even a race. I didn't even finish a race because it was in Ratsice. Yeah. And it was way too hot for me, so I almost fainted and drowned before the finish. But the year ended with a really, really great results from the double with me and Allar. And of course, we had some experience from the year or 2 years before rowing the quadruple at the Beijing Olympics.
Yeah.
But Allar has always been a very good, I don't want to harm in English. I don't know the right terms, but in roughly translates to like kind of workhorse, right?
Yeah. That's a good translation.
So when you have Allar sitting behind you, you just make sure that me as a strokeman, that the stroke is solid, that we have a good pace. And whatever I do, he can follow. So a very fluent guy.
Yeah. And what's it like for Yuri rowing with you three older guys? What's his personality like?
Oh, I think Yuri Mikudam is really a rising star, I would say, because he really understands rowing. He understands how blade has to work in the water, how the body is building up the pressure behind the blade, and of course, as he's a smart guy as well. Graduated Harvard a few years ago.
Ah, wow!
And I think he has very much kind of 2 feet on the ground approach to everything.
Yeah.
But I also think that he has some really older guys around him that are quite stable, usually. So that kind of brings everything kind of, more composed.
Yeah.
And not freaking about some nonsense that we shouldn't be worried about. So great guy.
How do you see, Kaspar, how do you see the quads this year for the Olympics? Because, I'm thinking in particular the results in the Europeans, which were a surprise with the Italians beating the Dutch. How do you see the competition, and is it something you see you can be competitive there with the Italians and the Dutch, or are you saying, well, this is our slot, the bronze medal? What's your thoughts on the quads and the competition?
Well, I think the Dutch crew, of course, from the history, would be the crew to beat. Italians row beautifully as well. Pleasure to watch them row. But the information what I come with is back in last year at the Europeans, we finished 4th, I think.
Yeah.
So we lost to the leading crew, roughly about 10 seconds or so.
Yeah.
Maybe 9, kind of point something, doesn't matter too much. But the main thing for me is that we managed to cut this in half by now. So I know that we have some more work to do. Technically, we can be even better, more precise. There is still, some mistakes we do occasionally that, I would like to iron out as a team. And so, of course, luckily, we were coming. We might have had pressure on us coming to the qualification regatta as the favorites, but we don't have that for the Olympics. So
Yeah. It's interesting looking at, you've got such a long history in the sport. How long have you been rowing for now? How many years?
I started when I was 7.
That's crazy. How so young?
Yeah. Basically, my mother and my first coach, they're friends.
Yeah.
So for some reason, I don't know if it's like a thing I actually do remember, or at least, I know that I remember. So I was, in the living room, and my mom asked me that, do I want to go to this training with this lady? I was like, yeah, okay, let's go. And, I'll stick around.
Wow.
Yeah, but of course, the first three years I was using like those bigger and wider boats that they're not like not actually like racing boats, but the boats you can learn the basics. I was just around for a few years, getting I think the overall idea of what we do on the lake over there.
Yeah.
And of course, I've had some other ideas as well. I really wanted to be a goalkeeper at some point. I didn't join the didn't join the soccer like training or group, but that was a possibility at the time. Then I also liked DJing a lot. I thought I could invest more time in. yeah. I played records for, I don't know, 4 or 5 years.
Oh wow!
Back in the school, so that I was and I was making money with that as well. So it really seemed like I could invest more time into that. But my coach definitely talked me out of it. Luckily, I might add.
Yeah.
So yeah, I've been rowing. So to answer your question, I think it's like my 27th year, to be honest.
That's sensational. I
think you meant to say that that's insane.
Yeah, it's crazy that I don't think I've ever met anyone that started rowing that young before.
This is rather an exception.
Yeah.
So, but this my boathouse is really close. The boathouse where I started training in. I'm a proud president of that rowing club by now.
Oh yeah. Oh,
and
wow.
I'm still well connected. So of course it's a privilege, I think, because we managed to find a place where I fit and where I belong.
Yeah. There's a couple of questions come in. I want to come back to looking at your career, but Miles Devra has asked this question, and he's listening to us. Hello, Miles. Nice of you to put this question. In his opinion, which part of the 2K is the most important?
Ooh, that's a nice question, isn't it?
Yeah.
I think I assume that the question is about on-water rowing, isn't it?
Yeah, I assume.
Each crew has a different race plan, isn't it?
Yeah.
So you need to know where you are strong. I will make it a bit easier. If you do a 2K on the erg and you expect a time 600.0, right?
Yeah.
So the average you need to aim for is 130.0.
Yeah.
So there's no point of doing the first 500 with 125.8, for example. So it's all about the balance. What I was talking about before.
Yeah.
But if I would have to pick one, I would say a clean start very important with the quadruple sculls. You need to get up to speed really quickly, and it's also a great asset when you have a really good sprint finish to take out from your back pocket as well. But everything in between also very important. So it's really hard. I think it's an impossible question to answer. I think, but every good race starts with a very clean start. So I would definitely say if you get out from the blocks really well, then it's all set.
You mentioned your 2K erg. What is your PB on the 2K, Kaspar?
It's 5:53.4 or 5 something.
Yeah.
Not definitely not in the fastest fastest times around out there, but you know.
And do you do a 5K as well, which is the longer test? Or
no, we do 6K.
Okay.
6K. And I'm like exceptionally bad at it. I think my best time, I think I'm like if you think like maybe Andre Sinek or maybe some of the Croatian guys, I think I'm about a minute off from those guys.
Yeah. Wow. Bloody hell.
Mm-hmm.
So you prefer the 2K to the 6K? Yeah,
definitely, of course. You know, 6K or 5K, I think they're more like you know, test of a test kind of thing.
Yeah.
So it's not like the thing you need to perform. Of course, coaches are always, you know, asking for, you know, better times, but sometimes athletes just cannot provide.
Yeah. Now you mentioned your career and getting started in rowing, and then we talked about that 2009 championships where you came up with a bronze medal just behind Germany and France. How important was that medal for you? Your first medal in the World Championships?
Oh, that was amazing. You know, I remember waiting at the results. There's like a small screen at the side of the course at the finish line, and I saw we were third, and I was like, oh hell yeah, we medaled, right? And I remember my teammate Allar was like, yeah, but I was hoping for more. But nevertheless, you know, we started to row the double, I think, in the spring at that year. So it was pretty well right from the start. You know, we could tell that this boat was moving pretty nicely, and we had like the perfect mix between agility and strength and endurance and sprint kind of abilities inside our boat. So we covered full spectrum of those good rowing. How do you say it in English now? You know, kind of the sides that each rower, you know, should have. We had a good mixed bag of everything. So that was a very solid start.
Yeah, and just moving forward, you were in the quadruple for the London 2012 Olympics, and that was quite an influential race for you in that.
Yeah, back in 2011, me and Dallar, we managed to qualify the double in Bled.
Yeah,
I think we might have won the B final, I think.
Yeah,
and as we had another strong double in Estonia coming into the 2012 season, we managed to somehow convince everybody that it's better to try the quadruple.
Yeah.
And so it was Andrei Jämsa, Allar Raja, Tõnu Hendrikson, and me at the stroke seat.
Yeah.
So we went into the qualification, you know, thinking if we don't qualify, then we always have the double spot to fall back into. But we qualified. I think we won the qualification, and the London Olympics. You know, I still greatly, until this day, consider this to be my fault that we didn't medal.
No.
Yeah, well, not my fault, but I think I kind of I don't know, phased out, or I don't know. I was like into the rhythm quite well.
Yeah.
But I totally missed the Australian crew making a move on us, right? So they got the speed up, let's say maybe like 7 strokes earlier than we managed to.
Yeah.
Then, like before we managed to respond to that.
Yeah.
So we couldn't catch them anymore. But that's sports. That's the hard that's the hard thing. You need to be 100%. Rowing takes like from 5.5 up to like 7 minutes.
Yeah.
So every stroke you need to be focused. You need to observe. You need to keep your calm. Do whatever you can to make things work. But I literally remember that I was like, oh damn, they're going. It might so we have to go as well, but we didn't catch them anymore. So good race, guys.
I think I read somewhere you said one of the most important lessons you've learned from rowing is about learning from failure.
Yeah, it doesn't sound too great, does it? But I think being in sports really teaches you how to lose, and how to lose in a good way. Because if you're like we said before, like if you're around people that have their 2 feet on the ground, not like overly emotional, then you can find ways to do better next time.
Yeah.
And I think that's really important.
Yeah. And
So
and presume you learned from London in 2012 is what you're saying.
Of course, I would say because Olympics are once in every 4 years, or so. It's definitely I think throughout the career we have in sports, you're always learning, always adapting, always adjusting. But definitely this made me like feel during the race I need to be 100%.
Switched on.
Stroke. Yeah, each stroke counts, right? So there's no like phasing out for me. At least I try to make it happen. I put tremendous amount of emotion into the racing. Sometimes after a good race, I'm tired for a day or even 2, like kind of emotionally. I cannot be happy, I cannot be sad. I'm just exhausted. So I think that's the adjustment I made from looking back to the London Olympics. That's
really interesting. What about the 4 years after that, up to Rio, where you won a bronze medal? How did that campaign happen for you? How did it unfold?
That was a pretty tricky period in Estonian rowing as well, because we had some we didn't found much of a common ground with with Tõnu and Andrei coming from the London Olympics. So we basically what we did, we tried out quad with some younger guys as well, Kaur Kuslap and Sten Erik. I think with Kaur we medaled in Florida, in Sarasota.
Yeah.
So a great, but as we talked before, Estonian rowing is quite small, so it's not like the top dogs are kind of on their own all the time. We need to make sure that we have some other guys to row with as well when something happens with somebody, or somebody decides to quit, or things like that. So that was definitely 2 years that we spent looking into the future. But overall we didn't do bad, right? I think we finished 5th in South Korea, and so that was like a very solid crew as well, but not the strongest one. We definitely needed more strength. to be, to medal in the top class of the quadruple. So 2015 was that in France in Alpes, I think. Yeah. So that was like a really cool racing session. I think overall, I think both of the semifinals, like, all of the boats were pretty much within 1.5 seconds or so. They were like really amazing races. It was like the finest there can be, I think. And was it the first time when they cut the quads to 8 boats as well? I think so, yeah, wasn't it? They just, they took some spots out from the Olympics for the men's quadruple. So it was like especially fierce at that time because I think the teams had been set before. I don't remember the exact schedule for that year, but I remember the races were, we had lots of boats, very fierce racing, and we did qualify, which was nice, and we even medaled, I think. So 2016, Olympic year is always special for the rowers. But Germany at the time was definitely, the leading crew throughout the seasons. And I've looked up to those guys so much.
Have you?
They have been. I have, of course. I wouldn't say that they like row particularly like beautifully, but you can see the raw power that comes out from these guys, and in some portions of the race, this is all that counts. If you're into the last 100 meters, it doesn't matter how beautiful your blade work is, but if you don't have the wattage or the power to put behind the oar, then it then it doesn't matter too much.
What do you remember about that Olympic final?
I remember one of the, weather was a big thing in Rio. So we were, debating that should we adjust the oar slightly or not before the race, and we didn't. But just as the warm up on the water came to an end, and we were like getting ready to race, the wind picked up, and I was like, oh, please no, why? So it was like, 1 of 2, right? 50-50 kind of with the wind. And but it didn't matter because there's nothing you can do about it anymore when you're at the start line, pretty much. So refocus, get your thoughts back to the boat, back to the blade. And definitely one thing I made sure was that when the second 1,000 starts, about 800, 750 to go, no matter what, we need to go. And I remember clearly saying to Tonu about 700, maybe 60 meters to go, that it's time. And Tonu was, let's go. And we just, there was like no looking back anymore. It was, I think, one of the hardest, like last 2.5 minutes I've done in my life.
Really?
But that's what the Olympics is about, isn't it? You really need to dig deep into yourself and find those energy portions somewhere. Even if you have to, pull with your hair or whatever, I don't care. Just get it done, right? So it's Olympics are definitely a different beasts of things to do.
How important was that bronze medal for you?
Oh, very. We were fourth in the London, which wasn't great. So anybody listening to this right now, or sometimes in the future, don't be fourth in the Olympics. Not a good. Okay, sorry, might be a bit nosy, but anyway, it was very important because Olympics is an experience, and world rowing as well is kind of breathing those 4-year cycles, right? It's always the build up to the Olympics.
Yeah.
And I think medal at the Olympics overall is really something special that fortunately few of us can experience over their lifetimes.
Yeah. Did it change? Did it change anything for you in Estonia?
Not too much. Or what do you have in mind? I don't know.
I don't know. Did they give you a car to drive around in? Did you get on Estonian TV and sports shows and things?
I've never had a car from a sponsor, right? No, I've never had it. I have my own car, and it's okay.
Yeah. Do you have a sponsor? Do you have a sponsor for the quad?
For the quad, we don't. No. So we're like officially we don't. Of course, there are like lots of people that help us. When we really are in need of something financially, usually we find people who are willing to help us.
Yeah.
But the overall kind of mentality of the Estonian Olympic Committee is that they're not buying medals, right? So they have a pot of money and they divide it basically.
Yeah.
So there's no like preferred sports of any kind. We have been lucky, of course. They have been helping us more as well, because coming from the 2018 and 19 seasons when we didn't had any results, they were able to keep kind of the minimum going for us at least. So at least we are able to be, in the sports and not looking for a way out just yet. So it's rowing and big money in Estonia definitely don't go hand in hand. And I have been lucky to have had a few sponsors that have helped me personally.
Yeah.
But not like our rowing association wise, we don't have like main sponsors that contribute as much that we would call it. Basically we're at the stage that every bit helps, right? So that's what it is.
Yeah. but I mean, you're 34 now. I guess you're in terms of looking at how long people row for in Estonia. You're looking forward to Olympics in Paris as well.
Ooh, that's a tough one.
Is it?
I always, because don't get me wrong, being an athlete and when you're able to provide results is really, really awesome.
Yeah.
But I think time has to come at some point when I think I would like to be very good at something else as well in my lifetime. So I think it might be time at some point in the future to try to be open to different well, not different maybe, but new things that might come into my way, because at some point you're just kind of, you're not adjusting as easily anymore. You have some your mentality is not what is needed for something else maybe. So definitely no guarantees, no promises, but I think let's try to do the Tokyo season, and then we will see where things will go.
It's been a long season. We got another question from Miles Devereux here, Kaspar, and he wants to know, presumably, if he's putting together a new quad combination with just 2 weeks to go, what would be the most important thing you guys would focus on?
Oh, from my side, definitely body and blade work. So in the end, that's what makes the quad fly. So You need.
What do you mean
You
by
need.
body?
The posture, kind of, right?
Yeah,
Isn't it?
yeah, yeah, yeah,
Like
yeah.
how much you lean forward, how big is the amplitude with the work that you do with your back at the end of the stroke. You need to synchronize everything. So given that little time, I think it doesn't even matter. You cannot get strong in 2 weeks, right? So you blade work, and blade work, I would say.
Yeah, 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 yeah. That makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
I was looking at your background and things you do. There's a couple of interesting things that you get up to. One of them was deep sea diving.
Well, not the deep sea diving, but yeah, I've been diving for a few years. Yeah,
How come?
Mm, how do basically what I really enjoy. I do well, not this summer, not this month, I believe, but I do skydiving as well.
Skydiving? Oh, you're kidding.
Yeah, I'm
Why?
not kidding. Don't tell my coach, please. All right. Okay. Anyway, I think what I've discovered about myself is that I really, really badly need those like mental release kind of things in my life.
Yeah.
And it used to be when I did one skydive, I can felt the energy, in my
Wow.
body for a week, right?
Wow.
So that it of course it has some dangerous consequences it might have, but nowadays what doesn't? I would say driving is definitely more driving with a car in the highways are probably more risky business than skydiving if you do things correctly.
Yeah.
So and diving, it's the same thing. Trying to discover something new, trying to be out from my comfort zone, trying to experience something new. I have a story for you if you want to hear it.
Yeah, please.
It was 2017, I think, in the Sarasota World Champs.
Yeah.
So we medaled. Everybody was feeling very, very good and enjoying, probably having a party.
Yeah.
But I went to bed at 10 because I needed to wake up at 4:30 because I had a diving tour that I went to at 6 a.m. So I needed to drive like 1 hour there.
Wow.
And so right after the final, I booked it like a week in advance already. And I went in bottom of the Mexican Bay the Gulf of Mexico to look for fossils and shark teeth, laying in the seabed. Yeah.
Did you find any?
Yeah, I found some small shark teeth. Yeah, fossils. Yeah, pretty cool.
Oh wow, what a story! That's amazing. Was that and how deep do you go in your dives?
Well, those how deep can you go is regulated with your licenses.
Okay.
Right. So the deepest thing I can go is 38 meters.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, but to go below that, you need to make another course to make sure that you are on track with everything.
And on the skydiving, are you throwing yourself out of a plane and just holding a position with your hands and then flying and then waiting to pull the ripcord? Is it?
Yeah. Well, we do. As I have about 71 skydives by now. So
71.
That's not a lot in the skydiving world. It's a novice basically, right? I know myself, around the sports and in the sports as well, but I'm not a professional, not by any means. You need a couple of hundred jumps to consider well respected and knowledgeable guy in the sports. But we do 2 ways, 3 ways, 4 ways, whatever. what we can do in there with 45 seconds of free fall. You know, we usually jump from a height of 3 kilometers. So that gives about 45 seconds until we need to pull the chute out.
And you won't be going skydiving between now and the Olympics?
Most likely not.
I'm glad to hear it. I'm glad to hear it. And there's this other sport. I think I read somewhere that you were the world record holder in this sport called kicking. It's Estonian sport.
Yeah.
And that's crazy. I saw it on YouTube and I thought, what is that? And maybe you can tell people what it is.
You know, before this interview, you know, I talked to you about the experience I had with Olav Tuhte's interview.
Yeah,
you know, it's kind of you know, you need to show those mediums between as well, so everybody kind of knows what you're talking about. Well, kicking is like a swing, right? But it's with fixed poles on your side, and it rolls around the axis of the. I don't know the correct terms in English.
Yeah, it goes right up to the. You have to push it over the top to make a complete revolution.
Yeah, and the idea is, you know, to have the longest
poles. Like
the longest poles. Yeah, I think but it's somewhat correct. So it was. I have the Guinness World Record thing somewhere, but I think it was 7 meters and something.
15, 7 meters and 15.
7 meters and 15, yeah. So there was like a special event in the Milano Expo a few years ago when you know, they flew me out to, and you know, we did the Guinness World Record there. That was a pretty cool experience. And you know, you're like, basically when you get really close to the top, you know, the speed at the other end gets like really slow. So your hands are tied and your legs are tied to the swing.
Oh, really?
Yeah, because if you you know, the speed is not very great when you go over the top, because it's really hard to push those last like few degrees of movement. So you're kind of hanging there. So your legs need to be very firmly secured that you're, you know, safe and sound.
Yeah.
So that was a thing I did a while ago. Sure.
Wow, it's amazing the things that you've done, Kaspar.
Well, thank you. I think the things that you have done are pretty amazing as well.
Oh yeah, thank you. That's pretty cool. So are you still in the Estonian Defence Force? Is that a job for you? Do they pay you a salary, or?
Yes, they did. You know, as in every country in the world, basically, you know, they have some certain groups of athletes inside the police force or inside the defense or army, you know, kind of sites. But the Estonia Defense Force decided to shut it down last year. Yeah. So not anymore. But sorry for one second. Yeah, that's the dishes done. So they closed it down last year. Don't know exactly why, but I guess they felt like they had to do it, and you know, it's the defense force, so respected, well-respected guys are leading that. So I think it was time, maybe.
Yeah. So let's look ahead to Tokyo. You're going into a training camp. And at the moment, I know we were talking before we went on air, it might be quite interesting just to talk a bit about the geography of Estonian rowing, because you're in Pärnu now, aren't you? And
yes, sir. Currently in Pärnu, and you know, I basically I came here back in 2007 when it was my first year being accepted into the national team. So by the end of I was the last one to qualify to the team. And at the end of the year, we qualified to the Olympics with the quadruple through the World Champs. That was like very great.
Yeah.
So I've been around since basically in Pärnu, and but I still consider myself to be, president of the Viljandi, where where I was born and raised basically.
Yeah.
So in Pärnu, the problem is that there is a river, and during the summer, because it's the so-called summer capital of Estonia.
Yeah.
There's like lots of launches or speedboats, or I don't know the exact term.
Yeah. That's right.
They use for the boats. But there's lots of on-water traffic here, so it's not very optimal for rowing. And of course, the river has like quite a few curves, or it's twisting sometimes as well. So it's not the greatest place to
try
get yourself. No, it's totally okay just to do like some steady state. But if you're trying to make the best from the Olympics, then definitely not.
Yeah.
So what we do is we go to my hometown Viljandi, where is a lake that's 4.5 kilometers long, a very beautiful lake, usually quite calm as well. Of course, exceptions. But so I think for the past 8, 9, 10 years, during the summer we're always there to prepare for the most important competitions we have coming up yearly. So we usually do 2 or 3 training camps throughout the year over there, which is very great because it's close to my home as well. So it's a familiar spot to be in, and the good thing is that it's only 100 kilometers. So for my American friends, it's like 60 miles or so.
Yeah.
Away from we are right now. So guys who have families back home, they can visit if we have free afternoon, and it's the perfect balance point between being in a training camp but being able to go home when you have to.
Yeah.
So that's very great.
Do you have any information about when or where you might be going out to before the Olympics, or when you might go into the Tokyo Games?
We were definitely looking into going a bit earlier, but the latest I've heard today is that Tokyo or Japan is not accepting any training camps prior to the games, because what we have heard is that the COVID situation over there is quite bad.
Yeah.
So this is yet to be determined when we fly out, but at the moment I doubt it's going to be way any earlier than when the Olympic Village is opened.
Yeah.
But there are other possibilities as well. There are towards the east there are more cities and places where you could get already adjusted to the time zone, at least get the process started, and it's not as important like 10-15 days before the race to row every day. So you can you can make an exception and not row for 4 or 5 days and keep yourself in shape in other ways, and just to get accustomed to the climate and time zone, etc.
Yeah. Are you excited about the Olympics now?
Well, of course, how can you not be excited about the Olympics? But I think these games are going to be very, very different, because I don't know what the spectator thing is going to be like. I think I also heard that athletes cannot go to watch any other sports as well. So that's been kind of I've managed to wiggle my way through the men's 100 meters final for the past 3 Olympics I've been to, right?
Oh, so, wow.
Yeah. And so it's I think it's not happening anymore.
Yeah.
And so I think the whole experience will be way different. Of course, the title is the same, Olympic Games, but the experience for everybody involved will be something else.
Yeah. I think it will be. I just wanted to ask before we close. We were talking before, and you said about this game that you play, which is an air traffic control game, and that was one reason why your English is so good. Could you explain what it is?
Well, thank you very much. My English is,
English is fantastic.
Well, the thing, what is happening, other nerds like me back in home, they fly airplanes virtually, right? They have like the gear they need to fly the planes, and it's all connected online. So you probably heard about, I don't know, Flight Simulator, Microsoft Flight Simulator or something.
Yeah.
So they use like simulations like that, and so as the planes and the systems are fully simulated, down to the every switch system and function of the plane, it's also wise to control that those things that happen in the air, even if it's for a virtual kind of flying. Because you see the other planes, you see the airports, or the traffic is kind of somewhat live. So what I've been getting into this year definitely is, I'm in the local air traffic controller portion of the network here in Estonia, and I've been studying a lot and been doing some sessions as well, as my schedule has been able to attend.
Wow.
So it's definitely it's very interesting because I really like aviation. I would consider myself aviation and space nerd, definitely.
Wow.
So it's definitely something that in the future, I would like to tie myself with.
Yeah.
And getting started slowly, just trying to, as I cannot work as a pilot or air traffic controller right now, as me being an athlete, so trying to get some ideas, what I might do in the future. We'll see.
And just looking ahead, we've been talking for more than an hour now. I don't know where all the time's gone, but it's the second World Cup this weekend in Lucerne. Is there anything you're particularly looking forward to watching? Any
yes,
crews?
Sure. I'm. Are you commentating?
Yeah.
Awesome. So, so definitely, I will be watching the quads finals for sure, and follow the virtual e-boats that race on the web page prior to that as well. It's interesting to see, because some of the crews, we saw at the European Championship, some of the crews we met in Zagreb at the World Cup.
Yeah.
So now has the, let's say as Yuri, my teammate, said, that the final axe has fallen, like who gets to the Olympics and not, and who doesn't. So it will be interesting to see how the field is performing, and I think it's very nice to sit on the sidelines and look for the crews.
Yeah.
Get the idea how they are racing, what they do.
So, Kaspar, I think we'll end the live part of the broadcast there. It's been an amazing experience talking to you in your fluent English for over an hour. It's been amazing, and I wish you and the guys all the best training for Tokyo, and be really fast on that Sea Forest course.
Yeah, well, thank you very much. Oh, the course is going to be amazing, isn't it? It's right below the downtown of Tokyo, and I think this. Well, fingers crossed. Let's see. Hopefully, it all works out. And thank you for having me. It was a pleasure and honor. And hopefully, hopefully I can do the same thing to you at some point. Because I don't have an Olympic gold medal, so I need to ask you questions as well.
Yeah, I don't have an Olympic gold medal yet. Okay, see you guys.
That's the spirit. I like it.
See you guys.